And welcome to the agenda. I'm Heather Childers along with Bob Sellers. Senator Rand Paul blasting President Biden's appointee for Secretary of Education for allowing transgender girls to compete against biological women in sports. Listen.
From what planet are you from? I mean, to think it's okay that boys would compete with girls in a track meet, that somehow would be fair. I wonder where feminists are on this. I wonder where the people who supported women's sports are on this. I mean, we all going to be okay with hulking 6'4" guys, wrestling against girls. It just makes no sense whatsoever.
So, Kristen, I'll start with you for this one. Do you think males that identify as female should be allowed to compete in women's sports?
Of course not. I mean, this is such common sense. It does a disservice to girls and women to argue otherwise. But for the Democrats, it's all just about virtue signaling, of course, and appeasing their radical base. I mean, in this country, I think it's less than half of 1% of people are transgenders. And yet this is what the Department of Education is choosing to focus on, really, at a time when our schools have been shut down, many of them for almost a year, and our public schools in the inner cities are failing our students. How about spending some time working on getting these schools reopened, something that Republicans have been pushing for, but left-wingers who are beholden to these teachers' unions have been very resistant to. If you really want to help our students, let's get them back in the classroom and improve the pathetic public education system in this country.
Yeah, Joe, it does say something about priorities when we're talking about that versus what Kristen brought up. But when I was doing a little bit of research on this topic, I found that Martina Navratilova, who of course is a legend in the tennis world, and now she's also very prominent when it comes to LGBTQ rights in that community. Even she says that this is not something that should happen. She says that she doesn't think that people, based on their self-ID, should be able to participate like this, because she said obviously it would not be a fair playing field.
And she got canceled because she did that.
Yes,
I supported her on Twitter when she said that, and she and I had a back and forth, and she was like trying to make it clear that she doesn't support me, and we're not friends, but we agree on one thing. It's interesting. Listen, men have thicker bone structure. They have thicker muscle bellies. I'm 6'1", 250, and I can outlift any woman who's my age. And that's not me bragging. It's just how God made us. The idea that I can fail at winning a bodybuilding or weightlifting competition against men, but I can put on a dress and say I'm going to compete against the women, I will beat all of them. It's unfair. It's wrong. It denigrates their years and years of hard work. But what's more important here is we're not really focusing on the people who do have gender dysphoria. That's a real mental condition where biologically you know what you are, and we know what we are through chromosomes and DNA and so on. But you're confused about why you feel you're something different. Let's focus on that very small number. It's a minuscule number of people in the population. Let's get them some help and figure out why they feel that way. But at the same time, we see it in Connecticut. Those two guys that are racing against the girls are beating them by 2 seconds every race, and they were just teenage boys a year ago. They've had all those years of testosterone. Their bones are thicker and denser, more muscles, and it's not going to just go away because they now grow their hair out and say we're girls. I guess the bigger question is, and Heather, Bob, thank you for bringing this up. The bigger question is, what is this doing to help society? That we're doing this, and we're telling girls who have worked from age 2 to 15 or 16 that even though you're the fastest girl in the school, the best place you can be is 3rd place, because we have to let these guys race against you. I don't know what we're teaching people.
What about that, Stacy?
Well, I want to focus on something that's even more serious than the races and the girls not getting the scholarships. There's something even more serious here. This is any child who's being raised by parents who want to be as cool as the Hollywood celebrities who are transitioning their children to make a statement. There are people in Hollywood who have adopted kids. Charlize Theron comes to mind. She adopted 2 little black boys out of foster care, and she's transitioned them, and they're living as girls. We don't know if they actually felt that they were girls, but she's making them live as girls, dressing them as girls. She's growing their hair out. And those little children are being abused by her. So other parents around the country, as unfortunate as this is, it's a mental illness. They see Charlize Theron doing that. They see Brad Pitt and his wife, and they have a daughter who lives as a boy. And they want to be a part of the woke movement that allows children to make these decisions for themselves. And so when that child makes that decision and they're on your sports team and it's time for locker room time to change clothes, they'll be disrobing in front of their classmates who are biological girls. Just wait until the biological boys start stepping into the shower rooms with the biological girls on the high school soccer teams. And that's when Americans who've never paid attention to politics are going to wake up and wonder what the hell happened in this country. And it's all about us paying attention and being involved. So if you're not shocked now, just wait. They're going to bring it to your kid's school district and you won't be able to stop it. And that's when you'll start paying attention. And I'm right here for you. We've been paying attention all along and we're not shocked, but I'm horrified. And this is absolutely a travesty. It's child abuse.
People do need to start paying attention. And when they think that something that's being discussed does not impact them, just wait down the road in some way it could, even if it's not about this particular topic. I know, Bob, you have girls. Obviously, they play sports. What do you think about it?
Yeah, it's a bad idea. I did want to make clear, though, Joe, if you ever do compete as a woman in a dress at weightlifting, I will watch. I just want to see how it turns out.
I'll do it for you, Bob. All right, I'm going to join that. I'm going to go do it.
I'm just curious to see you.
I'll do pretty well.
I got to tell you, things that she has taught before is sex education. And among the first things they teach you, there are primary differences when you were born, according to the genders. Now, as people grow up, I would not take away from whatever they think their identity is, but there are differences when you are born. And like you were talking about, that usually manifests itself with more testosterone if you're male. Okay, there are exceptions, but we've got to look at the tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of athletes throughout the country. It needs to be on a platform that's fair, that makes sense. What they're talking about in that case doesn't even make sense.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, everyone.